I'm here with Samina today, who graduated from URI in the fall of 2018. She's currently working at Pfizer in Andover as an associate scientist in the mass spectrometry group, which is a non-GMP group that's characterizing a diverse set of proteins. She's also currently completing her Master of Science in Biotechnology at Northeastern University. Thank you so much for your time, Samina. I'm really thrilled to have you here today. First of all, can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing in your career at the moment and how you got there?
So this is actually my second job. So how I got here was through my first job, which I got probably a little bit after graduating in fall. So I worked for Eurofins at their client site in Groton, Connecticut. And I worked there for about like 10 months. And from there, they were kind of like looking for people to like transfer to another client site, which the client site is Pfizer. And so I took the opportunity because my parents live up here in Andover, like near Andover. So I decided that, okay, maybe this is a good opportunity for me to just like transfer there and like work for the actual company. So I did that and I went through the interview process and everything and I got the job. So then I moved back to my parents and now I work in Andover at this Pfizer site. And as you said, in our group, we do characterization of molecules and we focus primarily on their primary structure. So.
Interesting. You mentioned that you went through the interview process at Pfizer. Do you think you could just reflect on that process a little bit? Because I know we will have a lot of students who would probably be looking at jobs in Pfizer because it's quite a popular career route. So do you want to just take a couple of minutes to just talk about that process?
Yeah, sure. So everyone is like super nice. I know it sounds super intimidating. I mean, I felt like that at first as well. But like you get contacted by HR and they're like super nice. And then you go through the interview process and it's usually with like the whole group that you'd be working for. So everyone that I'm working with now actually interviewed me during the process, including like my manager, obviously, and like the director of the group, which also sounds super intimidating, but it really wasn't in the moment. And then, yeah, they responded pretty quickly as well. So yeah, I think it was a good like experience.
It sounds good too, because that way you can meet the people that you're going to be working with. So it's like a double process. You can kind of see if you would fit, if you would like to fit there as well as they
exactly
fit with them. Yeah, thank you. So let's talk a bit about the BSPS program. So what would you say your favorite aspect of the BSPS program was?
So I honestly loved the pharmacology courses and the labs because it's like the simulation lab downstairs. That was really cool to like work in. I thought it gave like kind of like a real life like experience.
Definitely.
And then I would say just like working with my peers, honestly, that was really fun too. Like studying together and like trying to learn the course content and everything together. And then definitely I really liked the AAPS club.
Okay.
So I really, really liked that club. A lot of BSPS students joined that club and we like ran it. And it was like really fun doing different events and like during the meetings and all that. So yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely something I like about the BSPS program, that we're really, because we're such a small class, we can get really close with each other, and you know, we all take the same classes and then we study together, and you know, you'll be working on a group project for one class probably with the same group of people that you're working on for another class, so you can really get to know each other well, and it feels like a close-knit group. So that's a really good thing about the BSPS program. And you mentioned the sim lab as well, which we have downstairs, and that's a really nice opportunity. We use it in pharmacology. I think you mentioned that to we can basically just administer drugs to patients and like monitor them and see what that does to the body. So that's a really cool experience that we can have here in the College of Pharmacy. Another thing that you picked up on, which we haven't talked about yet. So that's a really good point. So were you involved in any undergraduate research while you were here?
I was. So I was involved in like 3-ish different labs. So the first lab that I was involved in was Dr. Zhang. So I think I got involved with her lab my sophomore year
Okay.
of college. And then I also worked very closely with Dr. Slitt's lab as well. Like I learned a lot of different techniques from her lab since they were like right next to each other.
Yep.
But I'd say my biggest learning experience was Dr. Camberg's lab. So she's not actually in the College of Pharmacy. She's in CBLS.
Yeah.
So I got her opportunity through the SURF program, which was like amazing. And like from the SURF program, I continued working in her lab until like I graduated, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. So we had another student in one of our interviews who did her research experience as an undergrad with the Department of Chemistry. So there are other departments that you can do your undergraduate research for. And you mentioned the SURF program there, which is a really, really cool program we have. We haven't actually spoken about that yet. So would you mind explaining a bit what the SURF program is and how you got into that?
So the SURF program, it's called the Summer Undergraduate Research Fellowship. And basically you apply to it, and then if you get accepted, you get paired with a mentor who would be like the lab professor that you're working with. And then at the end, there's like, you make like a poster and everything of your findings, and then you present it at the SURF conference, which was held in the College of Pharmacy at the time. And like people can come up to you, ask questions, and like it's a really nice conference and like program.
It's a cool program, and as you mentioned, you get to make a poster at the end of it and present that, and that's really good preparation. I can imagine for presenting findings as you develop through your career, because that's something that we're probably going to have to do a lot of. So explaining your research to others is one of the more challenging parts I personally find to research, but that's a really good program that helps you learn that skill.
Yeah, I think it's super important, especially now that I work in industry. Like, I think the main thing that we do is like conveying our research to other people and like explaining it and everything. So doing that program kind of helped me do that, like learn that skill.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah.
Even though it's not just presenting it to people who maybe aren't familiar with scientific research, everywhere you go, everyone in the industry is very specialized to one particular field. So therefore you will always be explaining your specialization to others, and it's a really hard skill, but the SURF program, as you mentioned, is a great way to get involved with that. Yeah, so thanks for talking about that. That's really interesting. What did you most enjoy about being an undergraduate researcher?
I think I really liked the projects that I was working on. I felt like I was kind of helping the lab progress. And like my contributions were actually doing something. And I also really liked working with the grad students. They were super cool, super nice. They were always like willing to help as well. And then what else? And like just like learning new lab techniques and like different experiments and stuff like that.
What specifically, can you talk about, do you remember what projects you were involved in or any specific ones that you really enjoyed?
Yeah, so in Dr. Camberg's lab, I was working on this protein called MIND, and basically it helped with like oscillation of these two other proteins inside of E. coli. So I learned a lot how to kind of harvest those E. coli cells, and then how to do like gene knockouts. Gel electrophoresis, that was another one that I did. And then PCR. So yeah, it was like a lot of different techniques.
Yeah, really valuable techniques. So that you mentioned like gel electrophoresis, PCR, they're like kind of staple techniques that I know I really am trying hard to learn in preparation for graduate school and my career. So it's great that you got that experience. as an undergrad so young, really?
I will say that, so I did those techniques before and everything, and now that I'm like in grad school, it's like coming back. So we're like learning about those techniques and stuff again, and it's like nice that I already kind of like did them, so like I can understand it better.
Yeah, definitely, because not every school has the opportunity to be involved in so much research as an undergraduate. So like you said, if you're in a master's program now at a different school, you're kind of a little bit ahead because you learned those techniques as an undergrad. So that's nice to have that. How would you say being involved in research as an undergraduate student helped you in your career?
Obviously, working in the lab, you need to know like certain lab etiquette, how to like pipette, how to kind of manage samples, especially if you have like a lot of samples, and just like taking laboratory notes, and like organizing your data and stuff like that. I feel like those skills from working in Dr. Cambert's lab really translated, especially to my first job, and then now again to my second job. I will say I do really think that URI prepped me super well for my first job. So what we worked on in my first job was small molecule pharmaceuticals, and I felt like I had a really good like base knowledge from our classes that we took, to like carry out the functions of my first job, and also like understanding why am I doing this test or like stuff like that. And then it also, I'm pretty sure, like helped prepare me for my second job, which I don't work in small molecule pharmaceuticals anymore. I work in protein, like biopharmaceuticals.
We have different aspects of learning. So we've got labs which teach us techniques. We've got classes. So we have a broad range of classes from medicinal chemistry to pharmacology to drug metabolism. So no matter what field you end up going into upon graduation, you will have taken a class with some background knowledge of that field. So we really get a diverse program, and that helps us. I think, like you're saying, you felt really prepared for your first job. That's nice for me to hear as well, that I'm probably going to be prepared for my first job or my first grad school. So that's a really positive aspect to this program, the diversity of classes and the variety of teaching methods, I think, too, with the labs and the classes.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, finally, what advice would you give to BSPS students regarding opportunities available to them here in the College of Pharmacy?
Get in there and like try and get experience in a lab, or like do research like somewhere, do like a fellowship, internship, like anything you can find, because a lot of the time jobs, they really look for, oh, do you have hands-on experience? Like they know you have the knowledge, but what stands out to them is like if you have that hands-on lab experience, if you've like pipetted before, if you've like worked in a lab before, because it shows not only that you can like carry out the job functions, but like you can work with other people, you can like organize data, you can like do all these different skills that you probably wouldn't get from just like knowing the content. So yeah, my advice would be to like get in a professor's lab or do an external internship or like apply for the SURF fellowship. And yeah, I think that would like really help students who are trying to like go into industry, especially after graduation.
Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.